Tulilmenuritas Heru Sauron.
Oh, another one. Another fake Sauron. My Glanin, I am glad to see you in Sindarin. I am the Talking Shed, and I have seen the finale of The Rings of Power. And what a finale it was. Truly a suitable ending to this whole show. A catastrophe to end all catastrophes. One episode to ruin them all. Well, it is so rich in stupidity and just things to talk about that I will not be able to speak about all of this in one episode. I'm trying to keep it below 1 hour mark. I'm not doing the best job, but if I was to talk about all of this, it would be so much more. So we'll split it in two. The first part will be treating about what's been happening to hobbits and a few scenes in Númenor, or on the road to Númenor. And of course, as always, spoilers ahead. Well, let's get over with the Númenorians. We see Eregion and Pharazôn and some other people in the king's chamber. The king seems very ill, and Pharazôn is giving a speech. He says that soon the king will die, and he gathered artists from all the island to design a tombstone for him. It does not seem appropriate to, talk about it in the presence of the dying king. But, he's unconscious now, so he won't mind, supposedly. And, these artists that are gathered there are supposed to design the tombstone, and I would assume that the most suitable people for the job, the best of the best, to give the dying king glory in death. So, what's Eregion doing there? She has been just enrolled in the school, of architecture or something. It was a few episodes ago. It was a minor detail, so I didn't exactly talk about it, but it was. And, at most 2 weeks have passed. And now she's among the best of the artists of Númenor, not apprentices of the school, but of all the artists. And now she's, given an hour to spend with the king and design his tombstone. Pretty lucky. And all that happens depends on that. So that's one lucky chance that she gets. Another one is that it is during her time to spend with the king that he wakes up and starts talking. The third one is that he mistakes her for Miriel, his daughter. Just that. We are now to assume that he just mistakes people for other people. A few days earlier, he was, perfectly reasonable, just ill. So he mistakes Eregion for Miriel and warns her about the doom that is coming to Númenor if the island does not embrace the old ways. And well, that's the third one. And the fourth one is that he now encourages his supposed daughter to look in the Palantir, and he reveals its presence in the chamber. So that's the fourth lucky element that brings us to this scene where Arwen is looking at Palantir. Well, there's the fifth one that she earlier calls for help, for somebody to tend the king, but nobody came. So, well, nobody is there probably. Pretty weird if the artists are left with king alone. There should be someone, but nobody comes. So she gets to look at the Palantir. Those 5 elements, all very, very improbable, well, make for the fact that she can look in this magical stone. So what does she see? What's so important that we had to do so many stretches of reality to get here? Well, I wish I knew. We are just shown that she looks at it. That's it. We do not see her later. That's a disappointment. Well, so there is one other scene in Númenor. Elendil and Miriel are talking on a ship that is getting closer and closer to the shores of the island. The queen is trying to, well, leave as a blind person. Elendil tries to help. Later they talk about sacrifice and the losses of Isildur, that is now assumed to be gone, of Miriel's side, and they talk about it, about the faithful ways, and well, paying the high price and having hope that it will be worth it. And later they come to the harbor of Númenor, and they see that it is all clad in black flags, a sign that the king has died. And that's it. That's all of Númenor that we see in this episode, and our final scene in the show with this island and its inhabitants. Now let's move to The Stranger and the Hobbits. We begin the episode with the stranger walking in the woods, and there suddenly he sees a figure of a hobbit. He comes closer, he follows her, and it's Nori, so it would seem. He, well, comes even closer, and suddenly he notices that this Nori changed her eyes, and now they are pale, almost white. And then this fake Nori changes her shape. It is the cultist, and the other cultist come. By the way, this change of shape happens in hilarious way, because, well, this cultist with the face of Nori covers her head with a blanket, and when it goes up, the face is changed. It is the most expensive show on Earth, and we get this effect. It is a minor detail compared to what happens later and all the plot points that we'll discuss, but it's just telling that there is no real effort to do something interesting, it all happens under the cloth. So now we see the three cultists, two of them appear more. They come, surround him. So are we in for a battle? And no, because they have come to pledge their service to the stranger. They bow before him and call him Sauron. So, is that it? Do we finally learn who the Sauron was this whole time? Well, let's remember what happened to Waldrick. He also assumed that somebody is seen with great power is Sauron, and he was not. And let's analyze the facts. Why would Sauron fall from the sky? What would lead to that? This would be just out of nowhere. Why would he be among the stars and fall? Why would he speak no language that was understandable by hobbits? Why would he be so clumsy and clueless? He's the Dark Lord. So it's not really believable that the stranger is Sauron. Well, the cultists seem to be certain that it is the case, and we get some exposition talk. We learn that they think that the stranger, being Sauron, will slowly regain his powers and all his memories that were stolen from him by those who cast him down. And, well, that's it. That's what we get about the beliefs. And let's analyze it further. Who was those who cast supposed Sauron down? Are these the Valars? But why would they cast Sauron down? If they had him in their might, if they could imprison him and keep him there, why would they cast him down to cause trouble in Middle-earth? And why would they get his memories, steal them? And why would they make him fall from the sky? There's nothing to justify it. Now, the stranger shows the cultist a page with the stars that he's been looking for, and they recognize them. They tell him that these are the stars that can be seen in the far land of Rhûn, and it is where they are going where the stranger will learn how to use his powers. But, well, soon the stranger begins to have one of his uncontrollable moments of uncontrollable power. The rocks are, well, floating and winds and all of that. So the main cultist, the shapeshifter, blows something in his face and he falls unconscious. And they prepare to bind him until he learns how to use his powers. And then we see someone in the bushes observing the cultists. It is Sadok, and there with him are other hobbits, Poppy, Nori, and Nori's stepmother. And they start to discuss what they see and what to do, rather loudly. They are few feet from the cultist, but they talk and move, and there is all this noise. So no wonder that later we learn that they've been spotted. But they seem to have forgotten that it is one of the main traits of their people to be able to hide themselves almost perfectly, to be unseen, unheard. It is one of the characteristics of the hobbits, and these ones do not do that. Well, it seems now that all the cultists have left. It is obviously a trap, but they fall into it. Nori and Sadok come to the stranger, but at the same time, Nori's stepmother, for some reason, goes somewhere else and finds the stranger. The second one. So one of them is fake. The shapeshifter is working. And it is the one that is, blinded to a tree. And, she reveals herself by changing her eyes again. And it happens only in order to allow Nori to escape, because there was no other reason. It does not achieve anything more. It is just revealing the whole trick. So Nori starts to escape when she sees something strange in the stranger's eyes, but Sadok suddenly grabs the fake stranger's feet, and it immobilizes the shapeshifter. This one small creature grabs her leg and it stops her entirely. But then one of the cultists appears with, two of them appear, and one throws some kind of a dagger, and Sadok is hit, and Nori is caught. Then we get the shapeshifter again covering her head with a blanket, and then coming out changed, so we never see the change. It's, rather cheap, let's say that. But there appears the stranger. He was magically put to sleep, but it's no problem now. He comes and won't let them hurt Nori. So a fight begins. And Nori escapes. Sadok is probably dying somewhere, and the stranger uses his powers, controls wind, and all this power that he used earlier. But the main cultist stands her ground and opposes him. She has this weird staff that seems to have a similar power, and she tames the stranger. She overpowers him, and the fight scene lasts for a little longer. And then we see one of the cultists throwing a dagger at Poppy, and it hits her right here, but not in the arm, but it just cuts her cloth. It seems to have pinned her to a tree, but with one move she should be free, but it seems to immobilize her. I begin to see a pattern there. And the cultist seems to be preparing to a final blow. But then, out of nowhere, Sadok comes. Wasn't he mortally wounded? It seemed so. He got a serious wound in his stomach, but now he moves like it was nothing. And he stabs a cultist in her foot. Wasn't there any better target? Probably, maybe heart. But, well, none of that. We do not have reason here. So the hobbits now escape, and later we see the main cultist defeating the stranger, but suddenly the hobbits teleport there. They climb on the trees and throw rocks at the cultists, but not big rocks, just some small stones, probably this size. But they seem to be almost lethal to this cultist. She can't stand them. She covers her head, almost falls down. She drops her staff, and a second later, Nori grabs it, like it was the plan all along. But who would assume that a small stone would defeat a powerful magic user? But, well, it worked. And later we see this cultist finally using her power against the hobbits. She, well, starts a fire, a big fire. All around her is set on fire. All trees, bushes, all except for the hobbits. Well, pretty lucky for them that they are immune to this magical fire. I cannot call it this anything more than just immunity, because they are on the trees. The fire is getting closer, but they just survive without any explanation. And then the cultist leaves, because it will be useful for the plot. But there is no real reason. She just leaves, so that we can have a scene with Nori and the stranger. Nori gives the stranger this magical staff, and he does not want it at first. He says that he will only hurt Nori. He will hurt her again. And Nori asks what they have done to you. And he answers, they have showed me what I am. And then Nori says that it's not true, that he will decide on what he or who he is by choosing what to do. That's the defining feature. That's what he should do. Make a decision, not being forced to do something by somebody else. And, well, this short scene I liked. All that leads to it is almost in its this entirety illogical, dumb, just dumb. But this scene I liked, but of course a few seconds later it has to be ruined by Nori just after telling the stranger that he should make his own decisions. Nori, well, presents him a decision to make. She does not leave him to decide, but tells him what to do. I understand that she wants to get help from him. That's the purpose of what she says to him. But it would be better. It would be a better scene if she just didn't say anything later. It was clear what she wanted, and the stranger would have a clear choice to join this cultist or to defend his friends. But, well, Nori just talks more. And now, just after Nori finishes her speech, the cultists appear. How convenient that they haven't come earlier. Well, now the stranger controls all the fire. He decides, of course, to help Nori, and he has this great power. He seems to control it perfectly. I guess he does not need any time in Rune. He just needed the magical staff. Well, he puts the fire down, and he tells the cultists to return, to go back to the shadow. Where have I heard it? Well, suddenly the cultists realize that he's no Sauron. Wow, who could have guessed? And they say that he is one of the Istari wizards. I wonder which one. So, Viscount Gandalf turns them into butterflies, and they are no more. And the magical staff disappears. We can have that. He must go to Rune after all, because the plot in the second season must happen. Well, so now we have to analyze why did all of this happen. Somehow this cultist mistook Gandalf for Sauron. Somehow the stars that Gandalf was looking for were the same stars that the cultist knew and that were connected to the land of Rune, a specific place where the Sauron was to be trained. Somehow the cultists have no problem believing that Sauron would come from the sky, that he would have no memories, that he would be so clueless and unexperienced. Somehow it all just made sense for them, and they followed him. How? Even did they trace him? In what way? We never learned that. All these questions, we are used to asking them, and we are used to getting no answer, and such is the case here. There are no answers to these so important questions to the whole plot. It all happened for some reason, but we never get the reason. Well, so later we see Sadok, who is now dying. He seemed, at least, perfectly fine, able to fight, to move rapidly, to defeat one of the cultists, and now he is dying. He does not want anybody to help him to tend his wounds. He just wants to look at the sunrise, and somebody could at least tend his wounds, stop the bleeding, but no, they just look at the sun. Well, if only in somewhere near was some magical man who could heal wounds by magic. If only we were shown that this power was possible to use by one of the people that are near. If only. Well, so Sadok died, and later we see Nori and Viscount Gandalf talking in the Hobbit camp, and the stranger tells Nori that he will go to Rune. He needs to learn more about himself, to discover the truth. And Nori rightly tells him that the cultist could have lied to him, that he maybe shouldn't go to Rune. But he responds by saying, I just feel it that they told me the truth. I have news for you. They told you the truth because they thought you to be Sauron. That Sauron was meant to go to Rune, not you. Even if they were all honest with you, they assumed you to be Sauron. It is his path to go to Rune, not yours. But, nobody takes that into consideration. He will go there, to the place of dark powers, just because cultists who believed him to be someone else told him. And he just feels this direction to be the right one. That's the justification for all that will happen later, in later seasons. That's it. That's a pathetic explanation for all what will happen. Well, so later this Count Gandalf tells Nori what the word Istar means. It's rather strange because, he tells her that the word in her tongue means wizard or a wise one. First of all, Istar comes not from Nori's language, but from Sindarin, an Elvish tongue, so that's not true. And second thing, wasn't that Nori who taught him the language? How come that he is now teaching her? How? It's just complete reversal. It's forgetting what was established earlier. He was the one that learned the language, and now he teaches Nori. It is another thing that is illogical here. And later we see the hobbits all shouting again, "Nobody goes off trail." So it's logical that in the next scene Nori's family tells her to go off trail and to join this Count Gandalf on his journey to Rune. Nori goes. Nori will go with him. We get one scene after that, but I will just point one fact. That's the fire that this cultist used is very peculiar, because not only it did not burn the hobbits when they were on the trees, but it also didn't burn their belongings when it was destroying their carts. I guess only the carts were destroyed, and all its content was safe, because now all the hobbits have all their belongings, but not in the carts, in backpacks. So they lost nothing, it would seem. They have all of it with them. Well, another thing to point out. And the last scene we get is Gandalf talking to Nori when they begin their journey. And what would be better than stealing a scene from some words from The Lord of the Rings? So Gandalf tells her when they are choosing direction that when in doubt, always trust your nose. To be exact, the words were when in doubt, always follow your nose. Yeah, the same as I said. So it's directly from The Lord of the Rings. And so, how suitable to end the discussion on the hobbits and Gandalf. This show steals a scene, and it stole the good name for this horrible story. Now let's discuss the world building. We've seen in Númenor this strange custom to allow young apprentices of 2 weeks to participate in designing the king's tomb. And that's basically it. As we see in Númenor, also the king is dead. So I guess we'll see the rise of power of Farazon and fight for power between him and Miriel. And now let's move to Gandalf and this cultist. Who are they? Usually In this part, I discuss what was shown, but here there is a very, very visible void. There is a lack of something, and that's the answer to the question: who are these cultists? Where did they come from? Where did the powers come from? How do they know this much about Sauron? Why do they want to help him? Why did they assume Gandalf to be Sauron? That's all the questions that would be very interesting to answer. But we get no answer to them. For the whole screen time that these cultists had, they spoke only few words, and it was almost nothing to help us learn where do they come from. And that's so important. Those are very powerful creatures that could impact the history of Middle-earth, inserted into this story. But there is no justification, no origin story, no even certainty of what race today are they. It is all a mystery, and I sincerely doubt that it will be ever told to us what or who are they. Well, what we did learn is that the stranger is Gandalf. And, well, all that we have seen, we have to now apply to him that he somehow fell from the sky and lost his memories. Now we should look for an answer why. I hope that we will get an answer. And well, Sadok is dead. And, well, basically that's it for important parts of world building. Well, let's move to characters. We have seen a short scene with Elendil and Miriel, who seem to, well, look for motivation, look for a justification, for a reason to fight for longer, to accept their loss and to fight. Well, that's a good motivation, good base for character building, but it should be well elaborated on more. So I hope that it will be in the next season of this show. And well, let's see, between the hobbits, between none that we learn about more. Nori is still the same. Her family and the hobbits all are. I don't think we'll learn something special. But about Gandalf, there was an important lesson for him, and well, for the audience. I think it is valuable. One of few worthwhile elements of this show was this lesson of choosing and these decisions making you a person, good or bad. And well, Gandalf chose rightly to help his friends. So well, that's a good base. I think he is well. He has potential for a good character. Maybe, of course, in the next part we'll discuss why he shouldn't be here in the first place. But if we are forced to deal with him in the second age, then, well, I hope they will not ruin him. And that's basically it for the characters. So let's move right into the source material and being faithful to it. In this part of the discussion of this episode, we see only one element that could be comparable to the source material. It is the presence of Gandalf in Middle-earth in the Second Age. And, well, it is so painful to see this disrespect for the source material. Gandalf shouldn't be there. He is a part of the Third Age of Middle-earth. He and other history came to Middle-earth to fight the evil that was Sauron after, his defeat, but not a complete defeat. They were sent from Valinor to fight this evil. And now we just get Gandalf in the Second Age. It is horrendous. It is just like moving Christopher Columbus to ancient Rome. It's a bit like this movement in time. It is just not a part of this history. Gandalf is not part of this age. We shouldn't see him. And if we are to see history, Gandalf was not the first. He was the last to come to Middle-earth. Where are the Blue Wizards? Where is Radagast? Where is Saruman? We see none of them. Only Gandalf. And will we see the others? I don't even know if I hope to see them, or I want them to just let them be a part of a different story, because nothing is right about it. Well, it's a short but very important part of this discussion. And so, let's move to the final conclusions. The story about first Eregion in Númenor is based on several lucky occurrences that make it possible for her to see the Palantir. That's all we see about her in this episode, and it's all based in sheer luck. And it describes very well the story of the hobbits. It's all inconsistent. It's the fire that does not burn them. Sadok, who is mortally wounded but can fight. The cultists just leaving when it's necessary for them to plot to happen. And the wizard Gandalf, who cannot use his powers to heal Sadok, who suddenly can control all the fire without any training, basically. And the cultists knowing, assuming that they know who Gandalf is and mistaking him for Sauron. It's all just a mess full of illogical decisions and strange happenings. All of that with some minor details of this cheap tricks with shape-shifting and the hobbits that didn't lost anything in this great fire. It is a large pile of it is a mess. Let's put it like that. And, well, the incoming part of Galadriel, Elrond, Celebrimbor, Halbrand and Gil-galad in Eregion is not better. It is, well, even more significant and not in a good sense. It is another, well, you will see for yourself in the video that will come shortly. Now, I hope to see you there, and fare you well. Nova year.
Subscribe right now, you little hobbitses.